Hello, hello, hello. Big, big, big announcements. I didn't think about doing this until I saw a couple things, but a really, really massive card coming out of this. Yeah. Insane performances on the card. However, I did say I was going to talk about who got the bonuses. However, we have been dropped with 3 bombs of fight announcements. We got Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler for UFC 303 International Fight Week. I believe that's late June. And then Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier, UFC 302, which I pretty much predicted. It sounded like Dustin Poirier was training in the background. It kind of sucks because at the end of the day, it was probably going to be Justin Gaethje's title shot, but he ended up taking Max Holloway in the meantime. And now, all of a sudden, Islam Makhachev, who didn't want to fight a couple months ago, now wants to fight as he does get like an easier matchup. I'm not accusing him of that, but I'm just saying it's quite the coincidence. And then under that UFC 302 card for Islam Makhachev and Dustin Poirier, it'll be Paulo Costa versus Sean Strickland. So those were the fights that Dana White announced. Of course, Conor McGregor versus Michael Chandler is going to be a massive card. I'm guessing Colby versus Gary will probably be under it, along with a couple other fighters that I'm sure will sell pretty big. So the performances of the nights, the people that got the 300K each. Fight of the night, Holloway got 300K for that, and Gaethje got 300K as well. And then performance of the night, Holloway got 300K again, so he got 600K, and Prochazka got 300K as well. I'm surprised, and this will always kind of be said, that bonuses should really be going to the lower ranked fighters that probably aren't making that much money, but pretty impressive performances. I do think Prochazka did have a crazier performance, although Diego Lopez won pretty early as well. So it would have been nice to see Diego Lopez get a little bit of a bonus there, but Prochazka looked pretty good in there as well. So let's get right into the review. If you have a comment, just put it down. I will put it up on screen whenever you post it. So I might start top bottom, or I'll go the big fights and then work my way back up. Alex Pereira versus Jamahal Hill. An insane fight, actually, because it did start out pretty calm, and I did not expect it to end as quickly as it did, because I was expecting something more of a chess match going into what we'd see like a second round or a third round finish, but it ended up just being leg kick, leg kick. Jab to the body from Alex Pereira was pretty nice as well. Set up the left hook eventually after Alex Pereira waved off Herb Dean from a nut shot. But definitely a very interesting finish for sure. Jamahal Hill, I thought, actually did pretty good with the calf kicks. Whenever Alex Pereira would fire one, Jamahal Hill would fire one back. Alex Pereira didn't figure out how to check the calf kicks. He was kind of checking when you were looking at his feet, like he was anticipating a potential leg kick, so he's definitely getting that involved. But the highlight of the fight was basically Jamahal Hill accidentally hitting the cup of Pereira. Pereira like, Herb Dean, don't move anywhere, hold on, and then he just goes out there and just left hooks Jamahal Hill and then puts him out. There's a little taunt as well. Alex Pereira has officially avenged Glover Teixeira again after beating Yuri Prochazka. So very crazy matchup for sure. Alex Pereira does beat another champion in the UFC. If you think about it, he beat Sean Strickland, he beat Israel Adesanya, he beat Jan Blachowicz, he beat Yuri Prochazka, and now Jamahal Hill in his like 7th or 8th fight in the UFC. So that is absolutely incredible. One of the best free agent signings, if not like the best free agent signing the UFC has ever gotten. I think it was Michael Chandler if you would have asked people like a couple years ago, but now it officially probably is Alex Pereira. Now that I'm assuming people are thinking like multi-sport combat sport athlete, Alex Pereira is definitely like up there, if not at the top right now. Multiple divisions, middleweight champ, light heavyweight champ. I believe he was a double champ in Glory Kickboxing as well. So a lot of accolades for Alex Pereira. An insane KO over Jamahal, who I think is very underrated. Jamahal Hill does get some hate. I think he's extremely underrated. However, I think Alex Pereira is just way too good on the feet. Jamahal Hill is going in there way too emotional, I figured. And Alex Pereira just ended up getting the finish. He didn't even land that left hook clean either. It was just right on the front of the face, and he just went completely out. I won't say it was like the Johnny Walker KO that Jamahal Hill got where like his leg kind of went, but there you could see the shock on Jamahal Hill's face when it like barely hit his face, and you can see him wake up as he was falling down, which was pretty crazy. So an insane win for Alex Pereira in that fight. That left hook kind of just came out of nowhere. You saw the reports of him beating Ngannou's record, and I guess so did Joe Pyfer. So how much did that really mean anything? I don't know. But Alex Pereira has extremely lethal power, and probably one of the best punches in the UFC, or at least in all of MMA, is that left hook. So lethal, will put anybody down. How it feels against a heavyweight, I guess we might find out. He wants to be on 301 against a heavyweight. I don't know if that's going to happen. If it is Aspinall, it would definitely be a very interesting matchup, for sure. I don't know what Alex Pereira would look like at heavyweight, or at least against the best heavyweight in the world, in my opinion. Would be very interesting to see. He wants to fight on 301 against a heavyweight. We'll see how that one goes. They probably do need Alex Pereira on that card, though, to sell that fight, or at least sell that entire card. So moving on to the next fight, the two big performances I would say I'm going to go over, and then I'll go top or bottom of the top. Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje, one of the most insane KOs I have ever seen, especially on the biggest card and the biggest stage of pretty much ever. You had 100, 200, and then you have 300. And 300 is the biggest UFC has probably ever been. So you have the most eyes, a lot of fans looking forward to this fight, and he just puts Justin Gaethje out cold. And there is part of me thinking that is pretty sad, because if you just look at the way, or at least how we got to him getting KO'd, we have Max Holloway, and I picked Justin Gaethje, which I said Max Holloway would get knocked down early. He got knocked down, and I think in like the third or fourth round, and the leg kicks would eventually take over. I will say, I think, was it late, or at least the end of the first round, Justin Gaethje got spinning back kicked to the nose or with the heel or whatever, which was just insane timing. However, Max Holloway did it multiple times to Justin Gaethje, so maybe it was just something he game planned. And maybe that hard sparring actually worked for Max Holloway here, so maybe you should start sparring again and doing crazy sparring. But, I mean, the heel destroyed his nose, made it really hard for Justin Gaethje to breathe. And then you had the two eye pokes, no point taken away, which was pretty interesting. I believe one judge actually had it for Justin Gaethje in that second round. So if you think about it, potentially if another judge gave Justin Gaethje that second and fourth round and there was a point taken away, we could have been looking at a draw, if you want to think about it that way, which is pretty weird, especially seeing after like a pretty brutal KO, or at least what it looked like a one-sided fight. But after that, Max Holloway spinning back kick to the body. Eventually, as the fight went on, like, he was just screwing up Justin Gaethje's body, and his leg was getting kicked quite a bit and is getting really, really swollen. However, he was just tanking it. The movement looked really good for Max Holloway, was avoiding a lot of Justin Gaethje's punches. Justin Gaethje looked all right in there. He did everything he probably could. However, the nose getting busted, the two eye pokes probably didn't help either. And the teeps to the body, the spinning back kicks to the body, the teeps. There's points in the fight where Max Holloway was literally just boxing to the body against Justin Gaethje. So he was really messing up Justin Gaethje. And when we got to that fifth round, he had dropped Justin Gaethje brutally in the early first. Justin Gaethje recovered. Max Holloway looked like he was recovering, like he was tiring out a little bit. And then we get... And after that, like, Justin Gaethje, it seemed in my mind like his whole body's red. Like his whole side of his body's red. Like a lot of kicks from Max Holloway went up there. A lot of teeps, a lot of punches. Like I've said, Justin Gaethje looked done. He was throwing lousy leg kicks. Looked like he was just trying to get out of there. And then we get into the last 15 seconds of the round. Max Holloway goes, let's go. And you know the meme here. Let me get back in the shot real quick. You know the meme of like, or not really necessarily meme, but like the clip of Max Holloway, like, let's go, like stand in the middle, let's box it out. That happened again. And Max Holloway was fighting a man that was half vegetable, did not want to be in there anymore. I know Justin Gaethje's a dog, but you could tell like he was just trying to get out of there. And because Justin Gaethje's a dog, he went after this request of Max Holloway and decided to scrap with him as well. And Max Holloway ends up hitting with the right hook. I'm pretty sure it was a right hook. And Justin Gaethje just goes flat on his face in the most brutal KO I've seen in a very long time. Like, he had the Michael Chandler front kick to Tony Ferguson, which was absolutely brutal. You have recently like that Josh Emmett KO against Bryce Mitchell. You even had that flying knee on one of those fight nights. I can't remember who it was. It was the Brazilian dude who hit a nice flying knee. But at the biggest stage, and for the most people, And one of the biggest moments, the most hyped up thing, like let's meet in the octagon, let's meet in the middle. He flatlines Justin Gaethje for the first time. Justin Gaethje falls straight on his face, out cold, extremely limp. And I had the same feeling that I had after, because I went to the Michael Chandler and Ferguson fight, which was Oliveira and Justin Gaethje, weirdly enough. After Ferguson got front kicked, it was like a mental recovery time, like going into the women's fight, which was Rose Namajunas and Carla Esparza too, by the way. So half of the fight, I was kind of just recovering from the previous fight of Ferguson and Chandler. So it wasn't as bad as what other people were thinking, but I was thinking like, why the hell are these women not fighting? But it was kind of the same thing going into Weili Zhang and Yan, and that fight was pretty good at the beginning. I'm not going to get into too far into that to that review yet, but it's the same kind of thing. Justin Gaethje gets put straight laid out. I felt pretty bad for him, but this is going to be replayed forever. One of the greatest moments in probably UFC history. One of probably the most replayed moments that will be in UFC history. Max Holloway, who is 32, who's already a star, grows that much bigger. Projected 1 million buys for ESPN 300, UFC 300. So a lot of people were watching this fight, and a lot of people know who Max Holloway is, and it's going to be interesting to see what the UFC does. Are they going to do that featherweight fight? Are they going to say, like, screw off Volkanovski, let's jump Max Holloway right in there? Because you saw the clip of Ilya Topuria out there, and he went, and then when the camera was going by, he was like, it seemed like he was kind of in shock a little bit. And then you have Islam Makhachev, who's now scheduled to fight Dustin Poirier again. I'll rant on that another time because I'm not happy about that one. I was actually ranting on the live stream a while ago, so I'll make a video on that one. But yeah, what happens with Max Holloway next? Very interesting. I thought maybe do Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway 3 for the BMF belt, because weirdly enough, Justin Gaethje flatlines Dustin Poirier and Max Holloway flatlines Justin Gaethje. And somehow Dustin Poirier gets a title fight after beating a number 12 guy with staph infection on his forehead. So, I don't know. UFC's kind of weird sometimes. I'll get into that another time. But incredible win for Max Holloway. People will be reviewing that and replaying that forever. Incredible win. Not much else to say about that. Scrolling down here, I'm kind of just going to run through these fights. Deiveson Figueiredo, I'm going to give like my takeaway from it. Deiveson Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. This one absolutely shocked me because thinking into this fight, and you saw it in the first round, Cody Garbrandt was actually landing pretty good on Figueiredo. I was kind of surprised, but you saw like Deiveson Figueiredo, the straight shot is what I envision when I'm looking at a counter for Cody Garbrandt. And it was kind of landing, but it wasn't like good timing on Deiveson Figueiredo's part. But went for a couple takedowns in that first round, couldn't get it. Second round, he gets it. And it was more of, let me grab your back and let me pull you into guard. He gets his back, and then he gets the rear naked choke. It just felt like, I don't know. When I saw the position that Deiveson Figueiredo was in, it was more Cody Garbrandt was like lifted up, and he was like on top of Figueiredo to the point where I'm like, okay, I don't think there's no way Figueiredo can get this choke in just by the angle. And somehow Cody Garbrandt like lifts his chin up and he gets choked out. I don't know. It was really weird. However, I am right on that prediction. It was one of those 50-50 matchups that people were taking Cody Garbrandt in. So I'm happy I got Deiveson Figueiredo right. I didn't think it was going to be submission, though. Cody Garbrandt has insane takedown defense. So I was extremely surprised by that. Cody Garbrandt's momentum kind of gets halted here. Deiveson Figueiredo just wins another fight. So someone else will eventually beat Deiveson Figueiredo. When we see him in the top 5 is when he'll probably lose. Maybe Song Yadong next. I don't know. Bobby Green versus Jim Miller. Jim Miller did pretty much everything I said he should probably do. He just ended up not getting the finish. Is basically what it is. He didn't go for takedowns. However, he was landing. I think in the first round, he dropped Bobby Green like twice, or he dropped him one time and hurt him very badly again. And I think in the second or third round, I want to say, he hurt Bobby Green as well. Again, he just couldn't get the finish, and Bobby Green was just doing too much damage with his jab. Very impressive win for Bobby Green. That jab was coming out very quickly, and he just kind of got in that flow state. And what I said with Jim Miller is when you get a tired Bobby Green, which eventually did happen because of just their interactions, and Jim Miller made it pretty tough at certain moments. Towards the end of the fight, this is what I saw Bobby Green looking like. His hands were really low. He looked really tired, and his defense was really slow, which is what I saw against Drew Dober, which is what I saw against Jalen Turner. And I thought that was going to happen with Jim Miller. I thought Jim Miller was going to press him up against the fence, and it seemed like once he got Bobby Green up against the fence, Jim Miller would just back up and try to create space and try to counter off of Bobby Green. But Bobby Green was pretty smart, went into open space, which he does his best work at, and got really comfortable as the fight went on, and was the guy pressing the action. So Bobby Green gets a pretty good win over Jim Miller, who he just beats the crap out of. However, Jim Miller does catch him a couple of times, however, just couldn't get the finish. Jessica Andrade versus Marina Rodriguez. Rodriguez is she doesn't move her head. She's a lot better fighter than Jessica Andrade, especially on the feet, a lot faster, a lot more technical. However, she just doesn't move her head, so she was just getting caught, especially circling out. There's just no defense. It's the most frustrating thing I've ever seen. The early part on this prelims actually pissed me off. I'm not going to lie. Like, we had a run where I guess it was Jessica Andrade, Jalen Turner. It was a short run. It was a short run. However, even the Bobby Green fight maybe got me a little annoyed. But Marina Rodriguez circles out of the way from Andrade, and she just goes, while just getting hit by Andrade, and doesn't even cover up or anything. It's the most weirdest thing I've ever seen. Marina Rodriguez is a lot better fighter on the feet than Andrade. She just doesn't move her head. I just don't get it at all. I never will. One of the most piss poor performances I've seen on this card. Renato Moicano versus Jalen Turner. My takeaway from this is that Jalen Turner is an absolute dumbass. One of the worst fight IQs in the UFC. How the hell you go in the first round and brutally knock down Renato Moicano in like 20 seconds left in the round? And it looked like the Fiziev one where Moicano just goes completely flat on his back, and you see Fiziev like land a couple punches and they stop it. Jalen Turner knocks down Moicano and walks off. I know he wanted his 300K. However, you are getting nothing now. You were probably getting what? He's probably getting like 80K now since he lost. I don't know what his show and win money is, but he's not making that much money. He's not making 300K. Renato Moicano isn't making 300K for finishing Jalen Turner. Do you know what would have happened? If you would have beat Renato Moicano, coming back after that first round where you get taken down, you get back up and you slam Renato Moicano on the ground and you get those extra punches in and knock him out. Where Renato Moicano, by the way, who after got knocked down, got back up to his feet, failed to take down, and fell all the way back to the fence. So he was out. He was pretty much out. Jalen Turner, you saw what Jalen Turner did to Bobby Green. Like, he has good ground and pound. He just didn't do that to Renato Moicano. Jalen Turner, worst fight IQ I've seen recently. Absolute idiot in there. Renato Moicano gets a good win. I'm happy he got mic time. Hopefully Joe Rogan goes on his podcast and he gets something out of this. So I'm happy for Moicano. However, Jalen Turner is just an idiot. He'll never be anything in the top 5 at this point. So I'm pretty harsh, but it just really pissed me off. I'm going to be honest. This was one of those 50-50 fights that met quite a bit, in my opinion. Like, I did some work on this fight, and Jalen Turner just pissed me off a lot. Diego Lopez versus Sadiq Youssef. Diego Lopez just looked absolutely impressive in every way. I was not expecting him to win this fast. I'm going to be honest. I thought Sadiq Youssef, I thought he was going to be pretty even, and it was going to go into like the late first round, and Sadiq Youssef would get the upper hand and maybe catch Diego Lopez a couple times, and Sadiq Youssef maybe landed like one nice punch in this fight. But Diego Lopez, just too much power. I don't know if it was because of the war that Sadiq Youssef was in his last fight against Barboza, but he got absolutely clipped by an uppercut. Got up again, got clipped with another uppercut in the clinch, and got completely put out. Diego Lopez didn't even go for a submission. He probably could have gone for a couple submissions when Sadiq Youssef was getting up. Didn't end up doing it. Really impressive performance. I'm surprised he didn't get the 300K, but Diego Lopez will be getting a really nice matchup soon. Sadiq Youssef was ranked number 13 in the UFC featherweight division. He called out Movsar Evloev. With Aljamain Sterling winning, I don't know if they want to give him a title shot. Dana doesn't like Movsar Evloev. Featherweight's kind of at a standstill, so there's a lot of time to have fights now. So Diego Lopez versus Movsar in the rematch where Diego Lopez gets an actual training camp. Definitely a very interesting fight, especially that he just ran through Sadiq Youssef, who's number 13. So very good win for Diego Lopez. Let's move on. Kayla Harrison versus Holly Holm. Went exactly how I thought it would go. I guess not in prediction-wise. I said it probably would have gone to a decision. But she ended up getting the rear naked choke. If anything, I probably would have thought that Kayla Harrison would have gotten like a TKO in the crucifix position, which she did get into and was just beating the shit out of Holly Holm. But like I said, Holly Holm, at this point in her career, she plays right into Kayla Harrison's game plan. She went exactly to the clinch, even though she's supposed to be the better stand-up fighter, went straight to the clinch. Weirdly enough, Kayla Harrison took her down, and then Holly Holm I think Holly Holm outmuscled her to the ground, and Kayla Harrison tried to reverse it, but she outmuscled her again. It was something like that where Holly Holm kind of just showed that she was stronger, and then after that went back to the clinch, and she got hip tossed and then just elbowed the fuck out of in the first round. Second round, same thing. Holly Holm gave up her back and got submitted. So Kayla Harrison looked strong. Weight cut, we couldn't really see too much of the chin there. I guess Amanda Nunes made a video, please don't come back. Why give us a potential contender here that's roided and all that when we still have to watch women fight? Now we can't have anybody if Amanda Nunes decides to come back and beat Kayla Harrison. I don't really get it. If you're going to come back, at least stay so we can build up another contender or something. I don't know. It's kind of frustrating. Hopefully, if Amanda Nunes comes back, give some contenders a chance so we can at least have someone beat you. So there's at least some kind of, I don't even know. Like, there's some kind of resume out there. Like, we have Juliana Pena, but then she gets absolutely destroyed in that other fight. So in the second fight. So let's just move on. I mean, it doesn't really matter. But Aljamain Sterling versus Calvin Kattar did pretty much what I thought Sterling would do. Went to a decision, played on the outside, made it tough for Calvin Kattar to kind of touch him up. Sterling played a pretty rangy game, a lot of kicks. Kattar did a really good job stuffing the takedowns early. However, Sterling was just able to get him down. Kattar's really good at finding positions and defending against. That's why Sterling wasn't really able to do too much on the ground, because Kattar is so defensively aware on the ground. But pretty good performance for Sterling. I guess it wasn't anything super impressive. He did powerbomb Calvin Kattar, which was pretty cool. It looked like he was going to be like a pile driver where he's going to land him on his head, but he ended up turning him. Little Batista bomb in UFC 300, but that was the highlight of the fight. So Yuri Prochazka versus Alexander Rakic, one of those 50-50 fights. I chose Yuri. He ended up getting the win. Like I said in my prediction, I think I said second round TKO, maybe third. Yuri just finds ways to win. He finds ways to get KOs. That's all that really needs to be said. Rakic didn't really go for a takedown in this fight, which actually kind of surprised me because Yuri was super aggressive. So I was like, okay, he's getting hit with a lot of shots, especially after the first round where Rakic did really good, was tearing up the leg of Yuri Prochazka. And Yuri started landing really well at the end of that first round and caught Rakic's attention. Rakic was not liking it, and the way he reacted was not very good either. So I was like, this guy is rushing at you with this hip, so why not go for a takedown? I'm surprised he didn't. I'm glad he didn't because I got my prediction right. But in the second round, Yuri Prochazka ended up getting the finish, landed very clean on Rakic. Rakic was pretty much out of it. I don't think he broke Rakic at all. I think it was more of Rakic found as many ways as he could to survive that fight, and he just ended up not. So he was just completely out of it. Great win for Yuri Prochazka. Like I said, last fight, he had that little hair transplant with the antenna. This fight, it seems like it's his actual hair. So I think there's got to be some kind of power with his real hair that's coming out of his head, not the fake hair. So very good win for Yuri Prochazka. I'm glad he got it. Very good TKO. Rakic is actually really good in a very tough stylistic matchup for him. I thought Rakic versus Ankalaev would have been a more fun matchup, but great win for Yuri Prochazka. I wonder what happens with him next, especially after what happened in the main event. So we'll see. Maybe Yuri Prochazka versus Jan Blachowicz. I don't know. I think Jan might be injured. I don't know. But Bo Nickel versus Cody Brundage. Cody Brundage was not trying to lose this fight. However, Bo Nickel could have won more impressively. How about that? For how long Bo Nickel was off, I think I want to say like 8 to 10 months. When was these fights? Val Woodburn was 2023 in July. This fight was April. So what is that? 5, which is December. So he is off like 8 to 9 months. I was expecting something a little bit more. Like, is still the Bo Nickel overhand, right hook, like just one shot, no combinations, just a complete power shot. Was over swinging, wasn't really looking at anything either. Like, it worked on the Contender Series, and you were able to get like a triangle and reverse it into like an arms triangle, and or whatever he finished. The second guy he fought, but it worked against Val Woodburn, but I don't know. I think he needs to evolve his game. He looked pretty embarrassed after the fight, I'm going to be completely honest. But yeah, it was one of those things, and I kind of mentioned like Shavkat Rakhmonov versus Neil Magny, because it felt like Neil Magny was just trying not to get finished, and he was, whenever Shavkat would go for a takedown, Neil Magny would just fall down and do that kind of thing and just defend that way, even though Neil Magny still got finished. It felt like that with Cody Brundage. Like, he immediately went out there and just started doing like crazy shit, and not stuff you would see Cody Brundage do. So he was just trying to find a lucky punch, a lucky way to end up beating Bo Nickel. Didn't end up getting it, got taken down. And Cody Brundage is a decent wrestler. Was able to defend the takedowns pretty well, but eventually Bo Nickel got to it. Couldn't find it until the second round, which is pretty rough. And he did seem pretty embarrassed, and Dana White had a little bit of a talk with him. I don't know what he said, but it seemed like he said like not to be hard on himself. I don't know. It was something along the lines of that, but hopefully Bo Nickel can evolve a little bit. I don't know. I'm not going to say he wasn't taking his training seriously, but hopefully this is a little bit of a wake-up call, develop a little bit more. I'm sure he's taking it seriously, but he's 28. He's still very young, and it is middleweight, so he's got a lot of time. He says he wants 6 more fights. He says between 10 and 12 fights. He wants to actually fight real contenders, so middleweight's a very small division. We'll see who he gets matched up against, because you can only fight as many people as you can. What is he going to get? Cedric Dumas in his next fight? I mean, yeah, he'll probably win it, but there's only so many cans at middleweight before you fight like a decently talented guy there. So moving up, Arman Tsarukyan versus Charles Oliveira, a very close fight. Charles Oliveira hurts Arman Tsarukyan with a leg kick and then gets him in a pretty tight guillotine. So it was a pretty clear round 1 for Charles Oliveira. Second round, Arman Tsarukyan takes him down, controls him on the ground, beats him up with a bunch of elbows. Pretty much what that was. Second round, pretty clear for Arman Tsarukyan. However, it came down to the third round, where Arman Tsarukyan at the beginning started out really well, took down Charles Oliveira, went to like a crucifix and was like elbowing him. Eventually got on his back for a couple seconds, but never really established position. This was all at like the first minute and a half of the fight, and then eventually Charles Oliveira switched over, or not switched over. Arman Tsarukyan later went into full guard on Charles Oliveira. Charles Oliveira was able to get out of there and was able to get like a headlock, or at least like an arm guillotine or something like that. And was a pretty tight submission. It was probably the tightest submission and the closest we were to a finish in the fight. And depending on what the judges are looking at in the rules, or at least the scoring criteria, the goal of the fight is effective grappling, effective striking. And basically, it's about who's the closest to finishing the fight. So you could say the elbows from Arman Tsarukyan in the crucifix position, him on Charles Oliveira's back was a dominant position, so he therefore gets the round. He did a little bit more striking, landed a little bit more punches. Or you could say Charles Oliveira, who had Arman Tsarukyan in a very, very deep submission at the end, was the closer fighter to winning the fight and finishing the fight. Depends on how you want to look at it. A very close fight. I think it's probably one you would probably have to rewatch. It seemed a little bit controversial. I think more people just coming out of it. It was a split decision. Wanted to see 5 rounds of it. So we'll see what happens there. Kind of sucks for Charles Oliveira. I don't know what's next for him, because the guy he beat in Dustin Poirier, Justin Gaethje, and the guy he beat in Dustin Poirier, as well as getting the title shot over both of them. I guess they both lost, but it's really unfortunate. But yeah, I don't know what's next for Charles Oliveira. Who's the contender? Maybe Mateus Gamrot or something. I don't know. We'll see how it happens next. In the last fight, I already talked about both of the other ones at the beginning. Alex Pereira and Jamahal Hill, and Max Holloway and Justin Gaethje at the beginning. Weili Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan. Again, after the Justin Gaethje Max Holloway fight, we were all kind of recovering. Everyone was on Twitter like, what the fuck did we just see? Like, we just saw this man collapse and went extremely limp, and we never thought Justin Gaethje would ever go there. I mean, he's taken a lot of damage, but in the way it happened was the most insane way. However, this was not Rose Namajunas versus Carla Esparza 2. This was actually a pretty good fight. Weili Zhang was able, or at least for what it was a good fight for what it was. Weili Zhang, I think it was the first round, I want to say, had Yan Xiaonan submitted. She getting off of her. People were mad at Herzog. Maybe I missed something in the fight where there's punches. I know there was some weird commentary around certain points with the punches where there's just a lot of punches thrown. But the rule is if you can make it back to your stool within like 8 seconds, you're cleared for the fight. Yan Xiaonan got saved by the bell for a good like 2 or 3 seconds before she actually went out cold. She was actually unconscious and woke up in consciousness, like was bordering that area to where you could see it on her face once Zhang let go. She probably could have held on for like an extra 2 seconds and Xiaonan probably would have been out, but Xiaonan was like rolling off of Zhang's leg and could barely stand up. No one helped her up, so she was able to get up within a few seconds, and she made it to her stool. Second round, Weili Zhang just absolutely fucking dominated her, to be honest, like on her back, multiple submission attempts, deep submission attempts as well. Yan Xiaonan was able to get out of it, and Weili Zhang ended up getting super tired. Her arms got super tired, so Yan Xiaonan went on to win the next round. Had some success in the later rounds, however, Weili Zhang just way too strong. And at the beginning, I was kind of worried because Zhang was just getting out-muscled, and Yan Xiaonan did the same thing Holly Holm did to like Kayla Harrison, where she's like, okay, I'm gonna show you something. Like, I'm bigger, I'm stronger, I'm more powerful. I'm gonna put you on the ground and put you in your place, kind of. Weili Zhang ended up flipping her over with like a hip toss early on and was just out-muscling her. But Yan Xiaonan definitely had some moments. Towards the end, it got a little bit boring, but it was a very entertaining fight for what it was. So good fights all around. The main card definitely showed up. I would say the roughest main card was probably Bo Nickel, Cody Run, just because it just took so damn long. Arman Sarukian versus Charles Oliveira was interesting, but I'd probably say Weili Zhang versus Yan Xiaonan is probably like the second boring, if we're going to put it that way. So pretty good card overall. Yuri Prochazka versus Rakic was a great prelim headliner, like I would expect it to be. Good performance from Diego Lopez. Hanato Moicano got the finish. Good for him there. And big surprise finish submission for Figueiredo. Again, bonuses were Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje. Performance of the night was Holloway and Prochazka, with Diego Lopez not getting a bonus. I'm sure they're going to give him a little bit of something, like 20K or whatever, because I know they do under the table bonuses. Maybe not when you're spending 1.2 million on bonuses, but we'll see. And then Chandler versus Conor McGregor got announced for UFC 303, and Islam Makhachev versus Dustin Poirier for 302, which I'll have videos on. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. And I think I got to everything here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you guys.